When you talk about the greatest to ever play this game, you cannot skip Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. For 20 years he stood as the standard, from Milwaukee to Los Angeles, carving his name into history with that unstoppable skyhook. 6 championships. 6 most valuable player awards. 19 trips to the All-Star game. The numbers alone feel untouchable, yet Kareem's impact goes far deeper than the record books. I remember the sight of him in the early 70s, paired with Oscar Robertson in Milwaukee, learning how to carry a franchise to glory. Then came the battles with Wilt Chamberlain, moments that felt like a passing of the torch. By the time the 80s rolled in, Kareem was the anchor of Showtime, the steady force next to Magic Johnson, facing off year after year against Larry Bird's Celtics. He was the link between eras, the man who connected the rugged days of Bill Russell with the bright lights of the modern NBA. Kareem was never the loudest voice, but he was always the calmest presence. On the court, his skyhook was poetry. Off the court, his intelligence and dignity spoke just as loudly as his baskets. And when a player of that stature looks back at 70 years old and names the 5 men who meant the most to him, who shaped his journey, sharpened his edge, and earned his respect, you know it's a story worth listening to. So tonight, we step into Kareem's shoes, and through his eyes we revisit 5 players who defined his greatness. Not just rivals, not just teammates, but figures who marked every chapter of his legendary path. If you want to understand the foundation of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's greatness, you have to start with Oscar Robertson. The Big O was more than just a guard, he was a one-man orchestra who could control every rhythm of the game. Long before advanced stats, Oscar was putting up triple-double averages, proving he could score, rebound, and pass at a level the league had never seen. When Kareem entered the NBA as Lowell Senior in 1969, he was just 22 years old, a towering talent still learning how to lead. By his side in Milwaukee stood Robertson, already a veteran, already a legend. Oscar didn't just throw passes into the post, he showed Kareem what it meant to shoulder the responsibility of a franchise. He taught him how to stay calm when the defense swarmed, how to read the floor before the play even developed, how to balance talent with patience. And the result was immediate. In 1971, Kareem and Robertson delivered Milwaukee its first and only championship. Kareem provided the unstoppable scoring, but it was Oscar who orchestrated the offense, kept everyone steady, and set the standard of professionalism. That title wasn't just a victory, it was Kareem's first glimpse of what it meant to reach the mountaintop. Looking back, Kareem always carried respect for the Big O because Oscar didn't just make him a better scorer, he made him a better leader. For Kareem, Oscar Robertson was not simply a teammate. He was the mentor who laid the groundwork, the veteran presence who helped a young center transform into a champion. When you mention the name Bill Russell, you are talking about the very definition of winning. 11 championships in 13 seasons, the anchor of the Boston Celtics dynasty, and the fiercest defensive presence the game had ever seen. For Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Russell was more than a distant legend, he was the model of how greatness could be measured not only in points, but in victories and leadership. Kareem grew up studying Russell's calm authority on the court. Russell was never the flashiest scorer, but he understood something deeper, that defense, rebounding, and selfless play could shape the destiny of a team. By the time Kareem entered the league, Russell was closing out his career, yet the shadow of his legacy hung over every center who followed. And Kareem felt that weight. What made Russell stand out to Kareem wasn't just his ability to block shots or dominate the glass. It was the way he led. Russell commanded respect with his intelligence and unshakable presence. He proved that a player's value could not always be captured on a stat sheet. That kind of wisdom left a lasting impression on Kareem, who would later echo Russell's team-first mentality throughout his own career. Even though the two men didn't face off in long playoff series, the connection was clear. Russell had paved the road that Kareem would continue to walk. Every championship Kareem won with Milwaukee and Los Angeles carried a piece of Russell's blueprint: sacrifice for the team, anchor the defense, and let winning speak louder than words. For Kareem, Bill Russell was not just a pioneer. He was a reminder that true greatness is defined by how much you elevate those around you. If Oscar Robertson was the mentor and Bill Russell was the blueprint, then Wilt Chamberlain was the mountain Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had to climb. Wilt was already a legend when Kareem arrived in the league, an unstoppable force who once scored 100 points in a single game, a 7'1" powerhouse who made the paint his personal territory. To Kareem, facing Wilt was like stepping into the ring with history itself. In the early 70s, Kareem and Wilt met head-to-head. The young Ulcine d'Or against the seasoned Big Dipper. Wilt had the strength, the presence, and the intimidation factor that could shake even the most confident opponent. But Kareem had something new: the skyhook. That graceful, arching shot became his answer to Wilt's brute force, a weapon no one, not even Chamberlain, could truly stop. Every matchup felt like a clash of eras, the old guard battling the rising star. The 1972 Western Conference Finals captured this passing of the torch. Wilt's Lakers defeated Kareem's Bucks, and Wilt, even in the twilight of his career, reminded the world why he was one of the greatest to ever play. But that series also solidified Kareem's resolve. To stand among legends, you had to take their best punch and keep coming back. For Kareem, Wilt Chamberlain was more than an opponent. He was a measuring stick. Every skyhook Kareem perfected, every battle under the rim, was sharpened by the presence of Wilt. And though Kareem would go on to surpass Wilt in career scoring, the respect never faded. To Kareem, Wilt was the test he had to pass, the giant who pushed him to prove that he belonged among the immortals. When Kareem Abdul-Jabbar thinks about the players who defined his career, no name shines brighter than Magic Johnson. Their partnership didn't just win games, it transformed basketball into a spectacle. Magic arrived in Los Angeles in 1979, a 6'9" point guard with a smile as wide as the court and a vision that seemed almost supernatural. For Kareem, who was already an established veteran, Magic was the perfect complement: youthful energy paired with his steady presence. The moment that sealed their bond came in the 1980 finals. Kareem, injured and unable to play in Game 6, watched as Magic stepped into the center position, his position, and delivered one of the most stunning performances the game had ever seen. 42 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists. At just 20 years old, Magic carried the Lakers to the championship, proving that together with Kareem, the team had the foundation of a dynasty. Over the next decade, the Showtime Lakers became the face of the NBA. Fast breaks, no-look passes, and Kareem's skyhook were their signatures. Magic's creativity unlocked Kareem's consistency, and Kareem's poise anchored Magic's flair. It was a balance of style and substance, of youth and experience, that defined one of the greatest eras the league has ever seen. For Kareem, Magic wasn't just a teammate, he was family. The two men pushed each other, trusted each other, and together won 5 championships in the 80s. Their bond represented what basketball could be at its very best: trust, joy, and brilliance shared on the court. In Kareem's eyes, Magic Johnson wasn't only a great player, he was the embodiment of what it meant to elevate everyone around him. If Magic Johnson was the perfect teammate for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, then Larry Bird was the ultimate rival. Bird represented everything the Celtics stood for: toughness, precision, and an unshakable will to win. Standing 6'9" with that deadly jumper and a mind for the game as sharp as any, Bird was the one opponent Kareem and the Lakers could never take lightly. The 80s were defined by Lakers versus Celtics, and Kareem was right at the heart of it. Facing Bird meant more than guarding a forward, it meant battling an entire philosophy of basketball. The Celtics played with grit, intensity, and unrelenting confidence, and Bird was their unquestioned leader. When he hit a shot, it wasn't just points on the board, it was a message. Every basket told the Lakers, "We're not backing down." For Kareem, those finals battles were some of the hardest fought of his career. He was no longer the young man in Milwaukee, he was the veteran anchor of Los Angeles, using his skyhook to steady the team when the pressure mounted. Against Bird, there was no margin for error. Every possession mattered, every rebound carried weight. But what made the rivalry unforgettable was the respect. Kareem admired Bird's competitive fire, his ability to rise in the biggest moments, and his relentless drive to win. Those clashes in the finals weren't just games, they were cultural events, moments that lifted the NBA to heights it had never seen before. For Kareem, Larry Bird was the rival who brought out his best, the challenger who made every victory sweeter, and the reminder that greatness is only proven when you face the very best across from you. When you step back and look at the 5 names Kareem Abdul-Jabbar chose, you begin to see the story of his own journey. Oscar Robertson was the guiding hand, the veteran who showed a young center how to lead. Bill Russell was the standard of unselfish greatness, proving that winning meant more than statistics. Wilt Chamberlain was the measuring stick, the giant Kareem had to overcome to carve his place in history. Magic Johnson was the perfect partner, turning basketball into art and transforming the Lakers into Showtime. And Larry Bird was the ultimate rival, the man who pushed Kareem and the Lakers to prove themselves on the grandest stage. Each of these players represented something different: mentorship, leadership, challenge, partnership, and rivalry. Together, they form a mirror of Kareem's own career. They remind us that no legend stands alone. Greatness is forged in the battles, the bonds, and the respect shared with others. Kareem's skyhook may have been unstoppable, but even he would tell you that it was these five figures who helped shape his path. His story is their story too, woven into the fabric of NBA history. And so the question is left for us: which of these five players do you believe defined Kareem's greatness the most? Was it the mentor, the rival, or the teammate who became family? Don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more timeless stories from the golden era of basketball.